Hello, I am Mark Manassis, a former member of the Stone Building Reuse Committee, now speaking on behalf of the newly formed Lexington Lyceum Advocates in support of Article 10A. Article 10A seeks funding for a design study to start the restoration of this national cultural treasure. In 1893, the stone building was 60 years old. It had just been donated to the citizens of Lexington by Ellen Stone, the building's namesake. It served as a residence and a school, but more importantly, it contained a Lyceum lecture hall that had played a crucial role in shaping the society of Lexington and by extension, the entire world. In the 60 years since it had been built, the social activism, philosophical discussion, preaching, and learning that had occurred in the building compelled A. Bradford Smith to pen these lines. We again have a beautiful place where all ages, nationalities, and sects in our village may gain knowledge and wisdom, not alone from books and magazines, but also from the varied classes for instruction which shall be held here. This sentiment from 130 years ago is very much in line with the final uses for the stone building, as suggested by the Stone Building Reuse Committee in our 2022 report to the Select Board and Town Manager. Please let me briefly summarize this report. The committee recommended returning the building to its original use as a lyceum, a place for learning and enlightened discussion, with a special focus on social and intercultural issues. Some of the uses which were broadly supported during our 3 community forums include use of the Lyceum Hall for lectures, cultural events, and other educational programs, especially those focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion, environmental, social, and racial justice issues. A place to house historical interpretations of events with ties to the building, such as those relating to the Lyceum movement from which the building was born, accounts of slavery and abolition efforts in Lexington, a place to collect the stories of Black residents of Lexington and the stories of other minorities and cultures as they made their homes in Lexington, women's history, the history of East Lexington and the Robbins family and other families that lived within the stone building, an educational center using the power of place to put children and adults into the same Lyceum Hall where noted scholars such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and abolitionists such as Parker Pillsbury spoke, and especially as a place of activism for social organizations to gather and collaborate as they seek to make a change in our town and our world. We invite you to visit the town's Stone Building Reuse Committee webpage to view our full report, which can be accessed via the bit.ly link shown on this slide. Let me now elaborate on why the stone building is worth saving. The stone building is a Lexington cultural treasure. The building was built in 1833 by Lexington businessman Eli Robbins to serve as a Lyceum Hall and residence. The Robbins family was instrumental in making Lexington what it is today. Eli was widely regarded as being a deeply civic-minded man and a staunch abolitionist. A number of schools were created in the building over the years, many of which were either taught by foreign instructors and/or attended by foreign students who brought outside ideas and cultural exchange to the town of Lexington. In 1892, Eli's great-granddaughter LLA Stone deeded the Mansion House, as it was then known, to Lexington. Ellen Stone is herself a memorable character. She became a lawyer in 1889, at a time when there were very few female lawyers. Women had just been admitted to the bar in 1882. She was also the first female member of the school board in Lexington. The stone building is a national cultural treasure. In the era surrounding the U.S. Civil War, the Lyceum movement swept the country. The Lyceum movement was intended to provide educational access to the common man and was modeled after Aristotle's Greek Lyceum. Eli Robbins constructed the stone building in part to serve as a Lyceum Hall to educate the hundreds of workers employed by his businesses. There were over 3,000 lyceums at the peak of the Lyceum movement, few of which remain today. Despite the current interior state of the building, the stone building is considered to be one of the most intact, with much of the trim, doors, fireplaces, etc. dating back to the original construction. The Lyceum Hall hosted many notable abolitionist speakers, and the annual Middlesex Abolition Society meeting was held in the stone building. Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of the luminaries of the Transcendentalist movement, co-founder of the Atlantic magazine, and an orator of international acclaim, delivered on the order of 60 lectures within what is now known as Emerson Hall in the building. The building was recognized in the National Register of Historic Places in 1976 for these and other merits, and for its architectural merit as an excellent example of Greek Revival architecture. We believe this building is so important, in fact, that the Lexington Lyceum advocates have begun the process to apply for National Historic Landmark status to join the other such 3 sites in Lexington, namely Monroe Tavern, the Hancock Clark House, and the Lexington Battle Green. We are still rediscovering events that occurred in this building. Although she is not listed on the plaque that hung outside the building for many years, we now know that Lucy Stone, the first woman from Massachusetts to obtain a college degree, and a suffragist who is often mentioned in the same sentence as Susan B. Anthony, spoke alongside Samuel May Jr. in Parker, Pillsbury at a meeting of the Middlesex Anti-Slavery Society in 1849. So we can see that this building has deep connections to important social movements of the 19th century America. Why should town meeting vote to approve Article 10A and spend money on this building today? What could the future of this building hold for Lexington? To set the context, this warrant article is about approving money for a design study on the path to restoring the building. The 2009 Historic Structures Report shows how the building would be made accessible by reinstating an L, which was removed from the back of the building in the mid-1940s, to now include elevators and bathrooms. The second floor Lyceum is the main social space of the building. It seats roughly 60 people, which is approximately the number of seats on a tour bus. Other rooms on the first and second floors could be configured in a variety of ways to give a home base to organizations in our town working on social issues and to house historical instructional displays. Rejuvenated stone building satisfies many of the recommendations laid out in several of the guidance documents created by the town, including the comprehensive plan, the community needs assessment, and various select board objectives. Looking at just a few of these objectives, the Lexington Lyceum at the stone building would provide a nexus for diversity and inclusion activities and groups working within the town. The stone building would be the ideal place to promote awareness and appreciation of Lexington's history. Emerson Hall would be an ideal venue for speaker series, author talks, cultural performances, historical programs, and other similar community events. Looking at this in another way, we believe that a rejuvenated stone building will promote community by providing a nexus for social activism and intercultural activity within Lexington. It will promote education by using the power of place, which makes the stone building an impactful site for teaching the social and racial issues of the 1800s and the issues of today. It will promote tourism by anchoring the proposed cultural district. A 60-person lecture hall provides a perfect gateway to Lexington. It also allows the town to expand the historical story it tells, drawing a broader audience to the story of Lexington. I'd like to close with another quote from 1893. "This stone building is a sacred trust committed to our keeping. Let us strive so to use it that it may prove a rich blessing to our children and children's children. Let us not let the building sit empty for another 16 years. We ask you to vote yes on Article 10A. Let's begin reviving the stone building for community use. Come join us in this effort at the Lexington Lyceum Advocates.